Canadian stories, it begins with a place on the land. A family farm settled 160 years ago by Irish immigrants, Francis Curran and Mary Mooney.
First of the Currans in our line.
Tom Curran is a direct descendant.
This is my grandfather, Robert Curran.
Near the old farm, in the cemetery at St. Cuthbert's Church, he can find every generation of his ancestors.
They're all here.
And now he can find most of his living relatives, too, thanks to Father St. Clair Monahan. A grandson of Francis and Mary, Father St. Clair spent years putting the entire family tree into a single book and sending it to every descendant. To the oldest, Sister Catherine Curran, the book is a godsend.
I call it my family Bible.
Tom Curran and his wife Debbie refer to it constantly.
Close to weekly, I would think.
For a couple weeks, I'm sure.
Tom and Debbie are now the principal organizers of a series of reunions that bring together a staggering number of relatives.
Around 1,000, give or take a few.
At the first reunion in 1985,
it is wonderful to be here.
Father St. Clair welcomed all those relatives to the beautiful old church that had long been the center of their spiritual lives. But the family that prayed together then has grieved together too. 1993, historic St. Cuthbert, destroyed by an arsonist's fire. Underinsured, the Catholic Church did not want to replace it. But out of the ashes rose a community's voice. The Curran Mooney family, among others, would not take no for an answer. At their 1995 reunion, they celebrated Mass in the barn and started raising money.
As we light this first candle,
now a new flame marks the start of Advent in a new church. The only sour note here, the organ, an old and poor replacement, wheezing and cigarette burn.
It's on its last legs.
So as Tom and Debbie organized the next reunion in the year 2000, they plan to do more than visit.
Raise the money for a new organ for St. Cuthbert's.
And so the descendants of Francis Curran and Mary Mooney will gather again at their ancestral home, pose for a group portrait once more, and greet the millennium year more connected than ever to their family, to their faith, and to their place on the land. Tom Walters, CTV News, St. Teresa, Prince Edward Island.
Perhaps I might not get all the questions, but if you...
That's fine, and if there's anything that you want me to repeat, just ask me to repeat it, and that'll be fine. We'll be editing this anyway, so we can take all the time you need here and make sure that I'm speaking clearly.
Okay, Tom.
Okay. Now this is just a conversation between you and me.
Yes.
So the eye contact is between us, and we forget that Gord's here and we ignore the camera. So, whenever. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I can ask you first. How are you related to Francis and Mary?
Francis Curran was my grandfather.
Now, where do you fit in the scheme of things with this family?
Well, my father was John Curran, and he married Jane O'Holland, and there were 10 children in our family. Well, there were 11, but one child died at 2 years of age, but 10 grew up, and there were 5 boys and 5 girls. Now, about half the family, 2 boys and 2 girls, made their home in the United States, Massachusetts, Boston, England.
So there's a big branch of the family in Boston now.
Yes, and the others married on the island. One of my brothers died when he was 31. He died TV, I believe. And I entered the convent of Notre Dame in 1935. I was 19 then.
Now, and remember, let's just, eye contact should just be between us, and we won't look at the camera for this. Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
If you could lean back a bit.
Oh, okay, sure. I just want to make sure that she can hear me. They tell me that you're the oldest member of the family now.
I'm the oldest living member. My two sisters, younger than me, they're both in the States. I'm the oldest on the island.
Now,
Of my family.
now, did you know that you had so many relatives?
Yes, yes, my father is one of the family of 12, so we have many first cousins. I never counted them, but I think somebody did count them from my grandparents, you know, in all the branches. It was something like 245 people. So I don't know if that went beyond first cousins. I think it would be, yes, beyond first cousins.
Have you been going to
First generation.
Have you been going to the family reunions?
Pardon?
Have you gone to the family reunions?
We're having a family reunion this summer. At least we've had one, I think, twice already. This is our third summer. Every 5 years we plan a family reunion. So this summer is the summer. It's also the millennium, so they made it mixed a little bit.
Well, it should be a big celebration this year.
I lived most of the century, all the 70 years.
Now, what goes through your mind when you see all of those Curran Mooney relatives in one place?
Well, I'd say we kept in touch with our relatives quite well, and that's why we're able to enjoy being together when they meet. And I have a picture of the first reunion, and I think there were 500 people or something like that. Big crowd of people.
Now, not every family could get that many people together at one time. What's
special
about?
Rare, perhaps. Yes, I think so.
Is there
Because
something?
sometimes people, they don't know their relatives beyond the first cousin. And when they scattered in different countries, like Canada and the United States, it's possible that we would get to not to know them.
Now, what's special about the descendants of your grandparents? What's special about this family that they've all stayed in touch?
My grandfather was born in Ireland, and he came to this country in about 1847. I think it was 1847. And he settled his sons pretty well. Two of his sons were priests. So that's Alabama. They're priests. And a third son was a teacher, and he died quite young. Died in his 30s, I would say, Francis. Then Uncle Robert was a sheriff, and my father was a farmer, a good farmer, a good boy, and he liked his work, and he described his accomplishments, what he had to do there on the farm.
Why do you think everyone has stayed in touch? Why do you think everyone has stayed in touch? Why has everybody in your family stayed this close?
Well, I guess it's just kindness, that's why. You know, we just like our own people, and we like to see them and revisit the lost, you know. I just think it's natural to stay in touch with the people that are closely related to you.
So,
somebody said once, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your relatives.
well, you must
but
be...
whoever chose mine on South Side is what they did.
I was going to say, you must be happy with the relatives you've got. When you see when you see so many relatives together at a reunion,
that's right.
You must feel quite proud of your family.
Of course, there were two guiding spirits. I think Tom Curran, who was here this morning, he was one for, keeping in touch, and made very good efforts to do that at the reunion. He was very good. Another one, a first cousin, the youngest of the Curran women was married to Monahan, and he had two brothers priests. So the Monahans had 6 brothers priests, 6 sons priests that day. And 2 of them were Jesuit priests, and the others were secular priests, or diocesan priests, as they call them, diocesan priests. And one worked at St. Dunstan's, taught there for a number of years. And I don't think he ever had a parish. Then he went to Oklahoma, and he died in Oklahoma. My father's brother, Peter, died in the West also. His health gave out when he was in his early 50s. And he went there to be cured, as it were, and it's higher altitude and better air. But he didn't survive. He was there about 6 years. He died. And then his brother, the priest, went out to bring his remains home to the island. He's buried here in the cemetery.
Yeah. How important is it to you to stay in such close contact with so many members of your family?
Yeah.
How important is it to have that sense of connection?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a crazy spirit, I guess. I can't explain it, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen, sort of. And my father was a very friendly man. He liked to visit people, and so in that way you keep in touch with great people for writing letters. Oh, letters, that's it. Write letters. When I left home, I was about six. When I left home, my brother said, "Oh, gone." But my mother wrote to everybody every week. Yes, that's how you keep in touch. Yeah.
Do you think, pardon me, do you think more families would benefit from staying in touch with their relatives the way your family has? Would it be, it seems there are many people in the world who don't have the same close family connections that your family has.
Yes.
Would more people benefit from staying in that kind of contact, having that kind of connection with their relatives and their home?
Yeah. I think no. But I think there's sort of a tendency for people now to get to be independent of their family and to have family life as another person. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something like that keeps them apart in a way, but the family ties are there and are very strong. Very strong. And then, too, being Catholics, you know, praying, that has a big influence on keeping in touch with people. And also keeping friendly with them. You know, people can have disagreements. But if they forgive, if they ask God to forgive them, they ought to forgive everybody against them. So that's what it's very.
Well, it must give you a great sense of company and of community to be in touch with so many of your relatives. I mean, it must be a wonderful and kind of warm thing in your life.
It's a comfortable feeling, you know, to know that nobody has anything against you, eh? At least that's the way you think, and I think it's probably in most cases it's true.
Now, I can't believe you would have a lot of enemies. I mean, I can't believe you would have a lot of enemies, you know. But I'm sure having so many relatives is a lovely thing in your life.
In our family too, nearly every person in my sisters and brothers who are married in families, nearly everyone has a teacher in the family. So that kind of runs in the family. My two brothers, the priest and another brother that died young, they were teachers as well. That's what they were given to do mostly, working in education.
Are you looking forward to next year's Are you looking forward to next year's reunion?
I was 17 when I got through as a teacher. And my first license was a second class certificate license. And then I taught 2 years, and I entered the congregation of Notre Dame. And after I had my training period, I went to Ottawa to teach. I taught 20 years in Ottawa.
Now, I'm sorry. Did you say you were the second teacher on the island? Second teacher to get a license on the island? Is that what you said?
I didn't get that.
I'm sorry. Did you say you were the second teacher to get a license on the island? Is that?
Second class license.
Oh, I see.
And you get that after 1 year, complete residency, and you have to go back another year to get a first class license. It's all changed now. University has taken over, and you get 4 years of training before. But I got my training after I was a teacher. I kept on studying. I teach all day and study in the evening. Go to university in the evening courses. And that's how I got my degree from Ottawa University, because I was able to do both things at the same time.
Now, I want to ask you about next year's reunion. Are you excited about next year's reunion?
Yeah, next summer, yes, I am. Because it likes to be the last one I'll take part in.
Oh, I'm sure not. I'm sure not. You have many more. But I'm sure it'll be wonderful to see.
One of the modern priests who did so much to sort of keep us together and help us to know each other, he prepared a family tree in a book. And I should have brought that with me to show you. He has Francis Curran, all his sons, and all their generations. It's very interesting because I so often recall, I look at that book because I want to know, for example, who so married, or how many children they had, or something like that. So that book, what they call, well, it's really a family tree in the form of a book.
How important has that book been in keeping the family together?
I didn't get that.
How important has that book been in keeping the family connected, all the relatives in touch?
I think it helps me. It certainly helps other people, because I often refer to it. I call it my family Bible. So I find it likely others use it just as much as I do. I could ask my sister sometimes, but she's good to write. She keeps writing. My sister next to me, she's 91, and she keeps writing. Just this morning, Kathy Gallant gave me a letter from Anna, and she's one that appreciates having information at hand.
If there was one thing that you could say to sum up the Curran Mooney family and what makes them special, what would that one thing be? What's the one thing you'd most like to say about your family?
Well, the Curran family, and there are the Mooneys. Now, I couldn't be very precise about that, but I know that right now there are no first cousins among the Mooneys living. Three died within the last 3 or 4 years. So I don't think I have any survivors there in that the Mooney family. And not too many now either. So all things pass away.
Well, I was just wondering if there's any special traits about your family.
Well, I don't know, but I think we're all very fond of reading. Now, my brother Tom didn't go to school beyond grade 9, but he read a lot in his free time, especially when he retired. But even before, my father, I remember my father reading, and he wasn't retired by any means. But that sort of makes me think that there's something about that is something that makes that possible. And
What do you like best? What do you like best about your own family?
Well, now, I
Now, come on, you must be able to think of one thing you like about your own family. Is there any one thing that you really like about being able to get together?
I guess I like that friendly feeling that we like to belong to each other, and we keep in touch by writing. I think that's nice, because I read of people who lost touch with their families. If some member went to the States, for example, at an early age, and they somebody to touch, they don't write. People don't write letters. So I think letter writing is probably about the thing that has helped most to keep us one. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we have to stay where we are for a moment. We have to stay put for a moment. We have to stay where we are for a moment because Gord takes some more pictures of us. But we stay here and we continue to talk for a few minutes. But while Gord takes some more pictures. So where on the island do you live? Are you here in St. Teresa, or where do you live on the island? Where on the island do you live?
I live in Charlottetown at the present time.
Too. Once an Islander, always an Islander, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What time will this be on now? I won't be here. I have to go back to Boston. I get lots of money.
I hear a very strong family contingent in Boston.
Indeed. That's all it is. Now, how do I look, fellas? Do I look all right? Have I got my... They're all showing? Got my jewels? Couldn't be better. But I got one...
You still have the moonshine still at your place?
Well, no, I loaned it to his camel.
Yeah. You're gonna get it going before it falls. See they can mark the box.
It's still back in the swamp up in the bushes. Is that right? That's where you
I'll mix the mash and you run and shine.
sounds good, and
James.
Kay McCann is going to tell us first.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, there was a lot of it made. I don't think there's too much of it now, though. I remember the day that we went to your place. Yeah. And that's what Johnny was doing. And we pretended that the cops were coming. And we went up and we knocked on the barn and told Johnny. And he was wild. Yeah. Tasteless. Oh my God.
But we've got to keep that tradition going. We don't want to lose it. We have to keep that family tradition going for the next 50 years.
Who will be doing it now besides Kenny?
Probably our sons and daughters
I
now.
know.
Kenny's and Curran, and Mooney's and Campbell's.
Did you look at the picture of Moore?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God, how did it turn out?
It's real good. It's just the picture right in behind you. I'll come over to the house today,
I'd love to see
and I'll give it to you. Because it turned out...
Morris was home the same time as when Francis died. Okay. So we can... Yeah, they tied it up.
Campbell's now was part of the reunion.
Oh, okay.
Big
Now,
time.
how would the three of you be connected? What would be the...
We're all
Second cousins here.
yeah. Her mother is my first cousin. Is my father's first cousin.
My dad.
Her father is my father's first cousin. So that we're all first cousins once removed.
Yeah.
Because they like the family, like in the Kenny family, 2 Kenny brothers and 1 sister married, 2 Curran sisters and 1 brother. So so we end up with double first cousins.
And you can keep track of all that.
Well, we keep track of it because we have it's all written down, so you keep going over it every time before the reunion, so you can track it.
Now did the three of you know before the book that book came out? Did you have any idea how many relatives you had and how many people you were related to here?
Yes, we did, because, like, Dad especially made a real point of keeping the family together. Like, Dad loved everybody, but family came first. So I think that was part of it. Well, we all lived in the same community.
Right.
Like, there's so many.
A long-standing sense of connection here.
The Curran Mooney? Oh, yes. Yeah, it was very,
All the families would, gather every summer. See, then we had cottages up at Lakeside, so the families gathered. The Kennys, the Campbells, the Currans, the Moonies. We all gather every year anyway. And then in '85, when they started having the reunion, then we got to see how many hundreds we didn't even that we wouldn't know. Yeah, 1985, whatever.
yeah.
But the family started gathering larger and larger, and then the young people who really didn't get brought into knowing their cousins as well, now they realize that they've got to carry it on. Because now we're the older generation.
That's right.
Really.
Was that an eye-opener to go to one of the family reunions and discover all of these people you hadn't met?
Oh, yes. Well, very much so. It's one way to get everybody to come back home. But even my daughter now, it's really surprising. She makes a point of being home for the reunion. And I'm glad to hear that. I didn't think she had that instilled in her, but it's very important to us.
It sounds from what you're saying like, wherever she has gone, they retain some sense of connection to this place.
Very much so. Very much so. Well, I think everybody gravitates back to where you were brought up, and I think that you'll always remember Grammy and their stories, and it's sort of nice to come back home. You move away and you make all kinds of friends, but still, there's nothing like family.
And those roots are here?
Yes, very much so. St. Teresa's Church, boys, I tell you, like, I'm surprised that my children, like, that's home to them, and losing the church was really, really hard for everyone. And granted, we have a new church now, but there's a difference. But it's still a place to come back to.
Oh yes, it is for every family really, and we've got a young priest there that talks on target. He's not talking back when the Bible began. He's talking about up-to-date, sensible things, and he draws young people come to church here, and they have no problem listening to what's going on. That, and there's a good social atmosphere, and the people here are pretty political in terms of how they protect its community, how they protect its schools. When we weren't going to have a church, everybody joined together and fought. So it's a very political community.
How much of the congregation in that church would in some way be related to the Curran Mooney family, do you think?
20%. Would be approximately that, because it's pretty extended now. A lot of the families are still here, like the Kerns, some of the Campbells, a lot of the Kennys stayed here, the Bradleys. See, it extends out pretty far. We did marry outside the community, though. We stayed away from marrying cousins.
That's good.
But there's lots of traditions. It does, but for years and years, people came and stayed at each of our homes and stay for the whole summer. Like the families would move, come back and stay on the farm. That was the big deal, and it was great for us because all of a sudden we had free labor. You'd have more social things to do. The odd drink would be stealing moonshine from our fathers and out behind the barn drinking it. But it was a real good social thing, and like there's the people even when they living in the city and different places, they still come back out here to church off and on to come back to the roots. And some of us will be buried out there someday. A lot of the old gravestones that from the original families are still in real good shape, and the community took real good care of the graveyard and the surrounding area. You notice that all the buildings are well taken care of here. There's a real good sense of community for all the people here. They don't mind participating.
My nephew could go one more. His dad is in the graveyard too, so that's a lot of generations. And the reason there's no more than that is they're all back. Nobody is buried under their stones. They were hodgepodge, so back.
Okay. Keep walking.
Grave we'll be visiting is that of Robert Mooney. And Robert is my great-great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather.
And came, I believe, from Monaghan, Ireland, back in the 1840s.
Now, is he a son of Francis?
No, Robert Mooney would be Francis Curran's father-in-law.
Well, Francis. Oh, I see.
So Francis Curran and Mary Mooney.
Oh, of course, right. So this is Mary Mooney's father.
Mary Mooney's father. See that headstone? The grave of Robert Mooney now, as I say, my great-great-grandfather.
Okay, and this is Mary Mooney's
father. Mary Mooney's father.
Okay. So, how many generations back?
This would be my great-great-grandfather. So we've got Robert Mooney would be the father of Mary Mooney, my great-great-grandfather. His daughter Mary married Francis Curran, and that would be my great-grandfather. And then Francis Curran's and Mary's son Robert would be my grandfather, married to Kate Kenny. And then my father married Mary Hughes, who was from Charlottetown. So that's all of the generations.
Yeah.
And they're all buried in this graveyard. And the only reason there's nobody back of this buried here is they're all in Ireland.
Yeah. So from the time they began emigrating to Canada, the first of your ancestors who came here, from that day forward, every generation of your ancestors is right here.
Yes, my ancestors, yeah. Now, a lot of people left the island and went to other parts of Canada. Most of them, the ones that left, went to the States.
Yeah. Well, shall we walk around a little bit more?
Okay, now
some of the other headstones, or do you?
I'm trying to find out where I am now. So
let's go to. Maybe let's be looking at the headstone here for a second, if we can. He was
in the 1840s, the early 1840s. I believe that. I don't know if they were.
This would be the oldest of your ancestors to be
in Canada, yeah, on the island. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom, could you just say that again?
So I say they died in 1882 and 1886, and that's a long, long time ago. Ages. Robert was 84, and his wife Margaret was 80.
Yeah. And just to repeat, this would be what generation of your ancestors?
It would be my great-great-grandfather. So it would be 5 back from me. gorgeous day, isn't it?
It is. I mean, in those bits of sun, there's actual warmth.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go over to that, see that red one there?
Right.
That's Francis Curran.
Okay.
Do you want to get there first, Gord? Or?
Okay. Good. And this is the couple that has become the sort of the
Right. This is This is the Francis Curran, Mary Mooney that the whole thing is premised on. The large red granite stone is my great-grandfather, Francis Curran, and his wife, Mary Mooney, that of course is the daughter of Robert Mooney. And here they died in 1900 and 1901. And
Sorry, Tom.
okay,
Say that again.
They died in 1900 and 1901, and aged 75 and 80 years. So.
And we're talking now really about the pioneer couple from which your extended family traces.
Right, right. And they're Francis Curran. If you remember the atlas that I showed you last night with properties all over the place, he's the guy that gathered them up and parceled them off to different children and relatives. But they're natives of Monaghan, Ireland.
So the first of the Currans in your line.
First of the Currans in our line on this side, of course. But yeah. And they came just ahead of the potato famine. That they were going to come anyway. His father was old and ill, and they waited in Ireland until his father died, and then they left and came over. And we went to Ireland and looked for traces of the family in Monaghan, and we could find nothing. But,
so does it? Is it your? Do you conclude from that that all of Francis's siblings moved here? Or
no, there's some there. The big thing is the loss of records. Like during some of the uprisings, at what they call the GPO, which is the government post office, was blown up, and all of the records went with it. And I think the parish church burned, and all the records burned with it, so that there was no. But no, that some, like years back, Francis, of course, had lots of brothers and sisters, and they married, so that there's difference
of Francis's brothers to be part of the extended.
They've become part of the reunion. They're eager to be a part of it. And I think if you saw the plaque on the altar, it was the memory of Francis Curran and Mary Mooney and their Curran Mooney cousins. But there's also a Mooney book, and there's another Curran book.
Oh, I see.
So there's 3 books.
But Father St. Clair's book is traced back.
Well, they're all 3 Father St. Clair's books. But you've seen the one that he did on that family. But then there's the other Currans, which are the brothers and sisters of Francis, and their descendants. And then the Moonies would be descendants of brothers and sisters of Robert Mooney.
So Father St. Clair has been very busy.
Yeah. I guess the day he died, he was back up again to go back to work on the computer, and died on his way upstairs.
Well, it really is a treasure to have real time here.
So we're walking towards now my parents, which would be Charles Curran and Mary Hughes. And I'm going to have to find them. Let's see. This is embarrassing. So let's see, Curran. My brother's close there too. Here we go. Curran Thomas. Nope. Curran. Nope, not that one, because Bobby's not there. I always wanted to be too far out when I'm looking for this. These gravestones here is my father, Charles, or Charlie Curran as he was known, and his wife Mary Hughes.
I see.
If you look at the dates, you'll see that my father was many years older than my mother, but outlived her by a lot of years. My father was born in 1889 and lived to 1959. My mother was born in 1909, but only lived to 1944. So
your mom had passed away before the war.
Yeah, well, before the American War, during the war.
Not during the war, of course.
Yeah.
45
Yeah.
was the end of the war. What am I thinking of?
No, I guess that was even after the
45.
American War,
Yeah.
during the war.
During the war, and then I was thinking 45 was the start of it, that was the end of it.
Isn't that, yeah.
Right.
And then my brother Bobby is buried there. He was killed in a car accident in, I believe, '69. He was in Korea. That's the military headstone that you get.
Oh, I see. The sun there.
It's amazing when we walk through here getting the information, how many of these people that I knew.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have been dead a long time now.
Yeah. Any idea how many relatives you would have here?
Oh, God. I wouldn't know a count on them, but I would say at least somewhere between a third and a half of the people buried in here I would have some kind of a connection with.
Yeah.
Walking over now to the headstone of Robert Curran. And therein is the story is Robert is married to Kate. Robert's sister is married to Kate's brother. And Kate's brother is married to Robert's sister. So there's three sets of Robert's got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cardigan Road, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So that's not the one that's supposed to be. Got to be here. Smith J. Bradley. Okay, we'll find him. I'm sure he hasn't left. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bradley. I'm back to front. I should be up there, coming this way. This is the Church Lane graveyard, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 going from the other end. So we just come up here. There he is. Yeah. We didn't lose him. Robert was born October of 1850, lived through 1936, and Catherine Kenny, my grandfather. So that's the all the generations.
Right. And one of the 12 children of Francis and Mary.
Right. Two of his brothers were priests, and both of those, at one time or another, were rectors of St. Dunstan's University in Charlottetown. And they're buried here too.
Yeah. So it is. So at the risk of being redundant, some of the questions I'm asking you here are sort of over and over again. But I mean, just to but this covers every
5 generations, and every generation that's in Canada. In other words, that there's no missing links or lineage or anything in there, and they're all in this one graveyard.
All your ancestors.
They're all here.
Yeah. This was.
Okay. This is my grandfather, Robert Curran, his wife Catherine, or Kate Kenny as she was known. Robert was born in 1850, which puts it 10 years after his father Francis had come over, and he lived through 1936. Kate Kenny was born in 1858 through 1935, and then, as I was saying earlier, that Robert and Kate were a brother and a sister, that eventually 2 brothers and a sister married 2 sisters and a brother, and they wound up with 3 sets of double first cousins. Another of those double first cousins, one of the children, like one of my father's double first cousins, was Bert Kenny, or he was known as Wild Bert Kenny, and he was a boxer, and at one time he fought Jack Dempsey.
Okay.
And if you get Dempsey's book, Dempsey beat him, but he said it was one of the toughest fights that he's ever had. But, he finally, yeah.
Against one of your relatives.
Yeah, my father's double first cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Father Tom, and probably of no interest for the article, but Father Tom and Father Peter. Father Tom was the one that named me, and I was born in 1939, and Franco was going around Spain killing communists, and Father Tom thought that was neat, so my second name was Franco. I think they were both ordained in Rome. So as I said when I met Tom Curran in Ireland, that we were both Thomas F. Curran, but his F stood for Francis. Mine was Franco.
Well, yes, you probably have some searching to do to find another Thomas Franco.
Yeah, and then they misspelled Franco.
Okay.
Well, maybe I can start by asking, how deeply connected do you feel to this place? So, Tom, maybe I'll start with you. To Prince Edward Island and to the family property.
Very deeply connected. I mean, this is where I was born, where I was brought up, where my family was from the beginning of Canada.
Yeah. And have you always felt close to your family and known the scale of your family?
I felt close to the family. Maybe the scale became more obvious when the books came out. But I guess I knew that it was a large group, but my God, no, did I know it was that large? No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, Debbie, you've married into this clan. What do you think of being part of a family of this size that is still in touch? Where that contact is
it's amazing that there's so many people, and they are so close, and they keep in contact so well. And I come from a very small family, so it's amazing to me that there could be that many people all related.
Yeah.
And I never knew what a first cousin once removed was. Now I understand it very well.
But keeping in touch is no accident. I mean, keeping in touch involves an immense amount of work too, doesn't it? Because part of what's drawing together your extended family are these reunions.
Right.
What kind of task is that, getting one of these reunions off the ground?
Debbie is the one to answer that.
It's a lot of work. I guess we'd have to give, for the first reunion ever happening, Bob Walsh. He's from Boston, I guess. I don't know exactly all the connections.
His
from
grandmother
the family.
was Robert Curran's sister.
Okay. But he's the one who he used to visit the island every summer, and one summer he said, wow, we should try and get all these people together. I think could have been after Father St. Clair put out one of the books. Wow, if there's this many people, we should try and get them all together, and wouldn't St. Teresa's Prince Edward Island be the place to do it? So he sent out a flyer and said, is anybody interested in this? And we were very interested in it. So.
Okay. So you were talking about organizing the first one.
Right. And I think that once you have a base to work with, the reunions, we decided every 5 years, because it is such a big undertaking.
Yeah.
Any sooner than that would be a little too soon. So they just kind of each one built on the other one. The first one was 1985, so now we're going into our fourth one. And every time a little more gets added, or if we know something doesn't work quite right, you don't do that one anymore, and you add something else, and people look more forward to them because they know how much fun they had in the past.
Yeah. Typically, how many people do you get at one of the reunions?
Around 1,000, give or take a few.
I find that incredible to think of. And Tom, maybe I can ask you this. I mean, what's it like to be surrounded by 1,000 people, some of whom you have known since your earliest memories, and some of whom you perhaps never met before? I mean, what does it feel like a family connection with everybody?
It feels like a family connection. It's overwhelming, I guess, to look out at all of these people. And there's a lot of diversity with people marrying in and what have you, and to realize that these 1,000 people all join back within a few generations to two people.
One of the questions at the reunion, and I have to say this is an island kind of phrase, or Maritimes, I don't know, who might your father be? And if you know your father and you know your grandfather, then you pretty well know who you are, just because I knew your father or your grandfather. And we have name tags at the reunion, and it lists the grandparents and the parents, and then your name. So everybody's kind of looking at the name tags as they go around. Oh, I knew your dad, or I know your grandfather, or I met your uncle in Boston. So even the younger people get the stories just because they have a name on.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've talked a little bit about the organizational challenge, and you said it's a big job, but I mean, maybe you can expand on that a little bit. I mean, what are the kinds of things you've got to do? What do you have to do to bring that many people together?
The mailing list. We started with a small mailing list, and that too expands every time. And every time you have a reunion, more people give you their addresses and phone numbers. Between reunions, a couple times we'd like to send out a little newsletter or something to remind people about the reunion. There's lots of preparation, but the Currans and the Moonies are very good at helping and volunteering, and everybody chips in and does their job, whatever that might be. And food is never a problem, because the Currans are great at getting food together. You saw that today at the hall.
And it's not only the Currans and the Moonies, but the island is good at helping and volunteering. And the one story that I like is David Gill is always, he's an electrician, he's a family member, and every time that we've had a reunion and we need some special wiring, David would handle it. So when we were going to have Mass in the barn, there was no wiring, there was no power brought to the barn. We needed some light, we needed power for the amplifiers and speakers and what have you. So I looked in the phone book, called David up. The woman answers, is David there? She's just a minute. And David comes on. He sounds like maybe I woke him up, or he doesn't sound quite right. I think maybe he's having a few. I don't know. But anyway, I said that, we're having a reunion, we're having Mass in the barn. He said, okay, yeah, Tommy, I know that. And I said, I'm wondering, we have no power, but could you run like a power cable over from the garage to the barn and maybe get me a light and a few outlets? Well, he says, I don't know much about electricity, but yeah, he says, I can go to McKenna's and I can get the cabling and I can run you power to the barn. So when do you need it? I said, why wouldn't he know this? Because he knows when the reunion is. So I tell him, he says, it'll be done. Thanks a lot, David. Okay, Tommy. And hangs up the phone. And I'm thinking, now, something's wrong with this. Like, what's wrong? And the phone I have, I can hit a button and find out the last number dialed. I had dialed David Gillis.
Instead of David Gill.
He's not in the family. No connection with the family. I get a wrong number, but he's going to wire my barn. And that's the God's honest truth. So I had to phone David Gill and get him to wire the barn, and phone David Gillis back and say, no, David, I got a wrong number.
I appreciate it.
But you don't have to wire the barn.
Boy, that's a great little snapshot of
but I mean,
island, exactly.
But you're saying, how do you get things done? I mean, like, he's not even in the family.
Yeah.
But he was going to do it.
How significant a role has St. Cuthbert's played in your life and the life of your family?
Oh, pivotal. I mean, that was the heart and the center of the community, and everything that happened began there and ended there.
Yeah. I can't imagine how heartbreaking it must have been.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
That's the first time I watched that.
It's hard to look at. Yeah. In the days and years since the fire, a new church has been built, and your family has continued to play a major role there.
Yeah, well, not just my family, but the Curran Mooney family are
I guess I mean in the broader sense.
Yeah, in the broader sense, do.
So what are the things that that the Curran Mooney family have done at St. Cuthbert's? And I mean, you've contributed to the new church in a pretty significant way.
Right, but that's through the reunion. But the Curran Mooney family, the family that goes there day in and day out, all have active roles within the church. Not to say that other families in the community don't either.
Yeah.
But there's no aspect of it, from Eucharistic ministers to readers to altar servers to
choir singers.
Like if you notice the kid that took up the collection today, where we were sitting, that went by you, is my grandnephew. So I mean, it's the lectors, the readers, all of those people were family members. The girl on the left of the altar service was a Curran. I mean, it's just ingrained in the church.
Coming from a family that doesn't have a base place like St. Cuthbert's or St. Teresa's, I find it just amazing that if you're connected to that family at all, you can go to this one place and you can meet a lot of family members. You can visit the cemetery where there's so many of your relatives and family who are there. You could just walk up and down like you did the rows of the cemetery, and you get a feel for how many family members are there. And it's a connection for people. People come from California, and this is a place where their family came from, and a lot of families don't have that base. And today there's still young children growing up who can say the same thing about Francis Curran and Mary Mooney. My great-great-great-great-grandparents are there.
Yeah. Now, do you get the sense that, particularly in the years since the reunions have been going on, do you get the sense that people whose branch of the family may have moved to another part of North America, possibly a generation or more ago, do you get the sense that since these reunions have happened, that they're still that they feel that connection to this place?
They feel the connection, and a lot of the people, maybe people in their 40s or 50s, their parents brought them to the island. Everybody always vacationed for a week or two in the summertime. Everybody went to the island every summer. So they have that connection. Oh yeah, we used to go and stay with Uncle so-and-so for 2 weeks in the summer. So now this gives them a reason to come back.
And there's people my age that have come to the island as small children, and then as their life went on and they got involved in other things, never came back until the reunions. Yeah. So the reunions have really reestablished their connection with the island.
So this is solidifying that sense of family.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. While we're at that. Oh, sure. Now, I'd like to know a little bit about Minnie Monahan and Father St. Clair Monahan and the work that they did, the work that Father St. Clair continued and completed. Can you tell me a little bit about the books?
The books.
Or in this case, the book.
The book.
Yeah, Minnie Monahan would be my grandfather Robert's sister, and his brother was Father Tom. And as I was saying earlier, when Father Tom was a parish priest in Kelly's Cross, Minnie went with him as his housekeeper. But I think Father Tom, being a scholar, I think he got her revved up into thinking that way and record keeping and what have you. And she became, at that time, I guess, the family historian. And then as years passed, she passed it down to Father St. Clair. And then Father St. Clair was the one that actually came out to begin with. This is probably fourth or fifth generation book.
This is the 91 edition, and this was for 95 then. So, Father St. Clair died in 1997 at 92 years old, and what we heard is the day that he died, he did all of this on his computer. It was an older version computer, but he did it all on his word processor, and the day he died, he had updated some of the pages on the computer.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. The other thing that's interesting is that he's devised this method of showing the genealogy, And you can get like Family Tree Maker program, and you can put all this information on it, and the printout that you would get would be about that thick, to just to give you the same information that he's packed into that.
I've bought 5 or 6 different family tree programs, and I like his version of it the best.
Now, what's it meant to your family and to the extended Curran Mooney family to have this document?
Oh, it's invaluable. But Sister Catherine said, "What? This is my family Bible."
Yeah. The sad part is it's never finished. Every day somebody dies, or somebody's born, somebody gets married, and the hard part is now that Father St. Clair is gone, is who's going to do it. And a couple weeks ago we had Ricky Curran from Boston. I feel like he saved my life because he's going to he and his son David have offered to update the book for the next reunion. It's like, oh yes, because that is a big job. It could be a full. I mean, Father St. Clair worked in his retirement. That's all he did was worked on the family records and dedicated his life to that. And that's a hard act to follow.
Indeed. But in terms of what it means for being able to even have these reunions, to be able to reach out to, I mean, do you have a sense, Tom, of how many family members you would have known about without the book versus the number you know about with the book? Is there
25-30% of them, maybe?
Yeah.
If that.
And how many living relatives do you figure?
Well, if everyone came, I think we could probably gather up close to 2,000 people.
Well, that'll be a good target for the coming year. Well, what are you hoping for next year's reunion? You've got a.
If you wanted that, I was zooming.
Oh, okay. Well, then perhaps I can just ask you that question again. How many people would there be in total who are now part of the clan?
The clan, I think that if we were to be able to get everybody here, to be somewhere in the area, 2,000 people.
A perfect target, maybe, for next year.
Yeah.
If what are you now? You've got a project in mind for the coming year. What are you hoping to achieve out of next year's reunion?
Well, the first thing, of course, is the togetherness for the family. But then, as an adjunct to that, is to raise the money for a new organ for St. Cuthbert's. That the old organ of any consequence was burned in the church. The organ that's there presently, they bought very used for $600, and it's on its last legs. So we're hoping that we'll be able to replace it before it dies.
Now, do you get the sense that the people who come from far away and from branches of the family that may have moved away some time ago, do you get the sense that they still feel that connection to St. Teresa?
I would say
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's not a hard sell to get members of the Curran Mooney family to contribute money to the church.
They're very, very generous, and that is in a sense that makes them feel even more connected if they can help their home parish in some way. And that's what we're trying to do. And now they can go to Mass there if they come visiting for the summer and know that they helped buy the altar furniture. Or in a couple years they can go and know that they helped purchase the organ for the church.
Real sense of pride.
Yeah.
Do you have either of you some sort of favorite experiences, favorite moments from past reunions, moments where being a part, having a great time with friends and family is one thing, but any great sort of moments of that choked you up or
well, one just kind
of
popped into my mind is it's a typical how much faith people have in the family. Is last reunion we went to the airport to pick up my father, who was coming from Chicago, and off the plane comes Amos Dunphy from Ontario. Winnipeg. Okay. Amos Dunphy gets off the plane. He'd flown in from Winnipeg. Oh, hi, we said. Like, who's here to meet you? No, he says, I don't have anybody here to meet me. He says, I knew I'd find somebody at the airport that could take me out there. So we did. He just knew because everybody was coming in for the reunion, he'd find somebody'd be there to take him. He wasn't going to worry about it.
He knew he could count on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think for me, being part of the Mass to celebrate it was like I remember in I conservatively estimated in the old church that we had 550 people, 550 relatives, worshiping together and being part of the Mass. I mean, that's like, my God.
Yeah. Impossible to ever feel alone when you're part
of
a family of that.
Another thing, there was one family, you'll have to get the names and everything. I remember at the last reunion, I heard all the screaming and hollering and yelling and people putting their arms around one another.
Those were the Mooneys. That was like Margaret Mooney and Bobby Mooney. But they had...
There were like 4 or 5 brothers and sisters, and they hadn't all been together in 40 years or something.
They had not all been at the same place at the same time. Now, you ask her, too, is this strictly descendants of Francis Curran and Mary Mooney? And I said, no, these are not strictly descendants. They're descendants of the branches.
Yeah.
But they came to our reunion, which became their reunion. But for the first time in 40 years for the 5 family members to be at the same place at the same time.
Now, what is it about, I can imagine in some families the word would go out that there was a family reunion and there would be people who would think, oh, well,
sorry, I don't know what you're getting at, but no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was just thinking...
My apologies.
Oh, no, that's okay, Gord. No worries. I was just thinking in some families, the word would go out that there was going to be a reunion, and people would say, well, it's a long way to travel, and I don't really know the rest of the family. And, well, no. What is it about the Currans and the Moonies that does draw 500 people here?
I think that any of the branches that had this book and are leafing through it and they're seeing the names and they're kind of forming a connection with the unknown. It's just words on paper. Now all of a sudden you get the opportunity to go to PEI, go back to your ancestral home and meet all of these people. And I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
And the result of that, in terms of the sense of connection between members of the family and their connection to here, what is the result of that in your eyes?
Well, not so sure I understand the question.
No. Oh, sorry.
I was hoping you'd answer that.
No, I was just we had sort of talked about this earlier, but I realized that I had kind of stated it and rather than hearing it in your words, I was just thinking that what's come out of these reunions, it seems, is a greater sense of closeness and a greater sense of connection. And rather than me stating that, I'm just wondering how you'd phrase that and what what you've seen over the last 15 years since these reunions began. What have you sensed in the extended family in terms of their?
I think I sense as like each one like. The book, of course, is all the different branches, and they come, and your first reunion, or maybe finding people in your branch that you don't know. But then each reunion, you tend to get a little more and a little more overlap, so that the book is becoming more of a uniformity thing rather than a compilation of different branches. So it brings everybody into more of a common community of family.
And where we might have known not many people in this book after the 3 or 4 reunions, now we know quite a lot. It's amazing sometimes to go through. Or if you meet somebody at the reunion and you look in the book and you see their connections and you go, oh, and it all makes sense then when you see a person. And the other thing that's very encouraging, and I think it's a trend, is the young people want to know where they come from, and the young people want to know who their ancestors are. And for a long time, I know in my generation, we didn't really care. Oh, it's family, like it doesn't really matter. But for some reason, the people in their mid-teens to late teens, early 20s, they really want to know their family history. Yeah, but they really want to know their family history. And that's encouraging to us because then they're going to be the ones in 5 and 10 years who take over and make sure that the reunions continue.
Yeah. We'd like someday to go to a reunion.
And just enjoy
Yeah,
it.
just like be one of the,
Maybe someday they'll push us in our wheelchairs.
At the last reunion, I was gathering information on the lineage sheets, and I missed probably 80% of what was going on.
Yeah.
That I would have liked to gotten the information and done that.
Right.
There's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of work, but there's a lot of satisfaction in it.
Yeah.
When you see those people screaming and hollering and hugging and hadn't seen anybody, for so long, you feel like you had a part in bringing them together.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is why you do it. I mean, why would you go through all of this if there wasn't a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and that's the pot of gold.
And to express that to other families, I mean, there are other families conceivably could do some of what you've done.
Absolutely.
And what would you tell them is the reward? What is the pot of gold?
Pot of gold, I guess, is to know your entire family and to have something to do with bringing them together and enjoying the results of that.
Yeah. And the results of that for everybody in the family must be some sense of it must be significant to them to be here, to see this place, to see where Francis and Mary settled, to see and to see each other. I mean, it must be. It must give one a sense of belonging.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And what we do means a lot to us, but think of what the results of what we've done. Think of what that means to Sister Catherine, who can see the results, and her brother Tom, who's now passed away. But the older people who knew a lot of the people and realized how big the family was, but for them to see the whole thing brought together, I mean, in their lifetime, was phenomenal for them.
I don't know if we should tell Ray's story or not.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's cute. Tom's brother-in-law was sitting in church one day, and you have to know Ray's a great storyteller. He said, I was sitting in church, and I was looking around one day, and I thought, where have all the old people gone? Then he says, it dawned on me, I am the old people.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, I think that probably. Well, maybe I could ask you one other thing too, and I guess that's when this book went out. Did you have people? You can tell me about people here in Prince Edward Island, how some of them reacted, because surely there must have been people who discovered family connections they had. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
I guess the thing that, and I can't come up with some of Angela's kids, but the thing is a kid, we'd do the mailing to all the families, and a kid would go and visit their good friend that they've known all their life, and they'd look and say, oh, like, why do you have that Curran Mooney thing, on your bulletin board or on your fridge? Well, like, that's my family. I'm going to the reunion. Oh my God, it's my family too. We're related. And they wouldn't have known it until, the commonality of the reunion brought them together.
Relatives who had no idea their friends were also relatives.
Right.
And that's where the second and third cousins come in.
And the once removed.
And the ones who are twice removed.
Too. Yeah. You can keep going along those lines.
Well, I think that's great. I think that covers off what I wanted to ask you. And the only other thing that I might do, I guess, is just if there are any sort of particular anecdotes or particular moments from reunions that that come to mind, that would be the other. Or anything else that you'd like to add to the topic. But I think that.
I'm at a loss.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I guess the sad parts of these reunions. We look at a video now from 1990, and you see all the people who have died. In 5 years, a lot of people die, and that's the sad part of it.
But then again, there's also the comfort of knowing that you did have a reunion and you did see this person.
Exactly. And I don't know if you that you told the story about the last reunion. Long Tom Curran went, and he said, I'm not going to even talk to anybody that I know. He says, I'm going to go around and talk to everybody that I don't know, because those are new cousins that I've never met before.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to talk to anybody at the reunion that he knew.
If he recognized you, you were snubbed.
Which is, it's phenomenal, really.
Yeah, yeah. But and phenomenal that there can be a gathering where that's a possibility. You know, whether
To have all those people there that you don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that does it for us, and that was great. Thank you very much. Okay.
We had a family reunion a couple years ago, and you'd think we'd really be into that, but we didn't go.
Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that was?
I don't like a lot of my relatives.
She married into a better class of relatives.
No, I don't know why. It's one of those things, like you said, what, you know, people would probably say, oh, I didn't really, you know.
That's the thing I was curious about, because it does say something about the Curran and Mooney clan, that there is a desire to get together.
Well, the other thing, too, is a big percentage can ignore it. And we still...
Other relatives, and they're making other people come, so that's how it blossoms.
And Bob Walsh got us into this. It was his idea. And we have to find out how he did it, because once he got us into it, he slowly backed away. And he comes to the reunions, and we're doing it.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Now, do you think that next year is going to be, because of the significance of the year, do you think that...
I think that's going to bring a lot more people out because of the millennium.
Yeah.
And word of mouth. I mean, there's people that go, oh, dear, I wish I'd have gone to that. It really does sound so good.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah. And
even though it doesn't start till next year.
oh, well, I mean... Now, don't let me come in here and be some kind of negative influence.
That's the feeling when you get those wiggles in.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Doesn't help him.
There we go.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that is such a project, isn't it? So, I mean, is this something that you would end up consulting on a weekly basis?
Close to weekly, I would
For a
think.
couple weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's always asking, especially everybody wants this.
Gerard and Karen, and they had their second cousins every summer would come from Maine to Sturgeon, and they were all the family members, starting at Francis Curran and Mary Mooney, up until the present date, to the last revision.
Yeah.
And it's every branch of the family, every marriage, every death, every birth, all laid out in a very readable form.
Generations, there's so many stars for each generation, so you know fourth, fifth, or sixth generations, just by looking at a name.
This is a format that Father St. Clair, I believe, generated on his own. Now here you're talking about stars and generations. There's 2, 4, 6 stars on Margaret Connolly. So that's the 6th down from Francis Curran and Mary Mooney.
Right.
And of course then it would be 7 to the Honorable Robert Mooney.
Yeah.
But
and it's become the device by which the family has the family sense of itself, family's awareness of itself has grown beyond the 25 or 30%, for instance.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times you wonder, how is that person connected to the family? So you just look in the book and you can figure out, and you might know this person's brother or sister better than you know them, but then you feel connected to them because, oh, they're so-and-so's brother, or they're so-and-so's sister.
Yeah.
So then you get that closeness too.
Like he had to reword it.
Oh.
ready, or?
Oh, go ahead. I'll be 1 second.
Okay.
Don't wait for me.
Oh, I'm glad that you got.
Oh yeah, we've got.
Do you like sign inside?
No. Yeah, it is.
Okay, just videotape.
I'm not doing it.
Whoever set that afire should be stuck in the chair.
Martin, careful with the tape.
Huh? Why?
Genevieve, I'm not pushing him. Shut the door. Is there time for any folks moving in this? When we left. Who called you? Oh, you just turned them over. I hope I did it right. I did.
Bad light.
Long reach into history yields a harvest of love. The descendants of a Prince Edward Island family rediscover each other. Tonight's stop on the Millennium Trek, next on CTV News. A message for the ages. Here's one that is still going strong after 160 years. It takes the form of a country church, a pioneer homestead, and one man's unflagging efforts to keep his family's history alive for future generations. CTV's Tom Walters takes us now to the tiny town of St. Teresa in Prince Edward Island, and our next stop on the Millennium Trek.
Like so many Canadian stories, it begins with a place on the land, a family farm settled 160 years ago by Irish immigrants, Francis Curran and Mary Mooney.
The first of the Currans in our line.
Tom Curran is a direct descendant.
This is my grandfather, Robert Curran.
Near the old farm, in the cemetery at St. Cuthbert's Church, he can find every generation of his ancestors.
They're all here.
And now he can find most of his living relatives, too, thanks to Father St. Clair Monahan. A grandson of Francis and Mary, Father St. Clair spent years putting the entire family tree into a single book and sending it to every descendant. To the oldest, Sister Catherine Curran, the book is a godsend.
I call it my family Bible.
Tom Curran and his wife Debbie refer to it constantly.
Close to weekly, I would think.
A couple weeks, I'm sure.
Tom and Debbie are now the principal organizers of a series of reunions that bring together a staggering number of relatives.
Around 1,000, give or take a few.
At the first reunion in 1985,
it is wonderful to be here.
Father St. Clair welcomed all those relatives to the beautiful old church that had long been the center of their spiritual lives. But the family that prayed together then has grieved together too. 1993, historic St. Cuthbert's, destroyed by an arsonist's fire. Underinsured, the Catholic Church did not want to replace it. But out of the ashes rose a community's voice. The Curran Mooney family, among others, would not take no for an answer. At their 1995 reunion, they celebrated Mass in the barn and started raising money.
As we light this first candle,
now a new flame marks the start of Advent in a new church. The only sour note here, the organ, an old and poor replacement, wheezing and cigarette burned.
It's on its last legs.
So as Tom and Debbie organized the next reunion in the year 2000,
From the deep sea fishing trip.
they plan to do more than visit.
Raise the money for a new organ for St. Cuthbert's.
And so the descendants of Francis Curran and Mary Mooney will gather again at their ancestral home, pose for a group portrait once more, and greet the millennium year more connected than ever to their family, to their faith, and to their place on the land. Tom Walters, CTV News, St. Teresa, Prince Edward Island.